Quietly, please. Hey, listen up. After our senior chapels, Ms. McDonald would like to see current members of the Spanish Honor Society. So if you're a current member of the Spanish Honor Society, stay behind afterwards. See Ms. McDonald. In the meantime, we have our last two senior chapels, Noah Wennicus and Rowan Whalen.
When I was in second grade, I transferred to a new school called St. Paul Lutheran School from Renaissance Academy. One of the first things kids would ask me when they met me was if I was Asian or Chinese. I wasn't even really mad about the question because it was so dumb. For those of you that don't know, I am half Korean and half white. My father's parents were from the Netherlands and my mother was adopted from Korea. So to answer the stupid question, I responded that I was Korean, which is in Asia. They would then ask if I was North or South Korean, because just in case I did the impossible and was in fact from North Korea, they better steer clear from me. The part of the question that bothered me was the fact that they only wanted to know what kind of Asian I was or why my eyes were so squinty compared to theirs. I am half white too, but no one questioned or seemed to care about what kind of white I was. Generally, people don't ask what kind of white you are unless you have an accent. They just saw that I looked a little different than them and wanted to know why. After answering the question, I soon became the Asian kid that ate sushi and dog, because apparently that's the typical diet for anyone with an Asian background. I would have to constantly decline when they asked me to speak Korean to them because I didn't know any. I was a failure of an Asian and no one considered me white. It was an awkward place to be. I felt like I was being judged all the time by my peers. Eventually, I learned to just accept that I was physically different and not let it bother me. Judging others is a trait all people naturally have. Some like to judge more harshly than others, and some like to judge quietly, keeping to themselves. I know that all of you are judging me right now. Hopefully you're not judging me negatively, but that's your choice. The thing about Lumiere is that not much really happens. With such a small student body, there isn't a whole lot of opportunity for crazy things to happen. Because of this, no one has anything to talk about. And when you see and interact with the same handful of people every day, conversation tends to become difficult. Musty cheese, as Mr. Buchanan would call it. And then, because of this musty cheese, people turn to gossiping about the latest drama. Usually, this drama is pretty boring stuff, but people like to hype it up to the point where it's breaking news. We all know rumors spread like wildfire on this campus. If you want to avoid embarrassment, you have to keep it to yourself and hope no one else knows. When something does get spread around, suddenly everyone knows about it, and you get labeled by people's opinions. Everyone starts judging you, most likely negatively, and your reputation will hurt. Even if you don't do anything necessarily wrong or embarrassing, people will still find something to criticize about you. Whether it be your race, financial position, the food you enjoy, the grades you make, anything. Someone will find a reason to dislike you and pass it on to the next person. If something makes you happy, you shouldn't have to worry about being judged for it. Bob Marley once said, "Who are you to judge the life I live? I know I'm not perfect, and I don't live to be. But before you start pointing fingers, make sure your hands are clean." We have all made plenty of mistakes in our lives, and no one can deny it. We all have plenty of things we could be judged for, and yet we all still do it. We do it because we are afraid of our own faults or jealous of others being better than us. Judging others is a complete waste of time, and it doesn't help anyone or anything. Instead of worrying about what someone else is doing, worry about what you are doing and focus on bettering yourself. Obviously, if someone is Asian or has any characteristic that is unchangeable, there's nothing they can do about it, and to judge them is just unfair. Coming to Lumiere has had its benefits, though. At least here, I'm not the Asian kid anymore. People still consider me Asian more than white when they look at me, but not as much as in the past, since there are actual Asians here who speak actual Asian languages. I have become great friends with some of them, and at another school that may not have been possible. This school has its ups and downs like any school, but we are coming to a close in a couple weeks and should try to forget the downs and celebrate the ups. We seniors may never see each other again after May 22nd. In a few years, we will all look back at our time here and think about why we judged and fought and think how dumb and childish it was. We should all just try to get along and forget the drama. It's not worth the time or energy worrying about. I'm not asking for us all to completely stop judging each other because that would just be an unachievable request. I'm just saying we all should just think about our own lives and the difficulties of our own that we face each day and stop worrying so much about others. Freshmen, you guys have a long 3 years ahead of you, so don't be creating conflicts within your class. You should try to make friends with everyone possible because you will be with them every day. Your lives will be much easier and your experience here will be much more enjoyable. Sophomores, next year is the hardest year of your high school career, maybe your life. Focus on your work and getting into college, and don't waste time on thinking about others' problems. Juniors, next year is your last year together, so make it as fun as possible and make some memories. Good luck, everybody.
Good morning. I would like to congratulate the Lumiere faculty, students, headmaster, my godparents, and the Board of Trustees for electing me, Rowan Whalen, for the final speech. I am here today to talk to you about happiness. The ethics course that I was fortunate enough to take this year taught me a lot about the pursuit of happiness. We learned in ethics that the ultimate goal for any and every human being is happiness. Happiness is a byproduct of the pursuit of character. When you're trying to do the right thing, happiness happens. Now let me explain. I'm not saying that I have some secret key to unlock unlimited happiness, but I do believe there are paths you can take to achieve it. One of the vital parts of achieving contentment is living in the moment. It is nonsensical to do anything but live in the present. What I mean by this is that the past and future are things we cannot control. Sure, we can learn from the past, but dwelling on it only causes suffering. Ruminating on how you did on that AP exam yesterday only causes distress. Focusing too much on the future can cause anxiety. Sure, we know basic things like we will all be sitting here tomorrow morning for something at 8:20, or the seniors will be graduating in 17 days, hopefully. But worrying about how prom night will go or what is going to happen next year in college is an exercise in futility, a waste of your time, and may only cause more unhappiness. You can prepare for the future without obsessing what it holds. Being present to the people in front of you causes the least amount of suffering, as you're not thinking about the past or the future, but focusing on the people you are with. Character is built by thinking about others. When we live in the moment, we truly see the people in front of us and can recognize their needs. I have experienced fulfillment in helping others personally. When I was a child, my family moved to a small 2-room dirt hut in a remote mountain village in Ecuador. One night after dinner, my mom threw the extra beans outside for the dogs to eat. I went out to pet the dogs and was shocked when I found the village children picking the beans out of the dirt and eating them. This experience has made me intensely aware of other people's needs. It has stuck with me all this time. 10 years later, I found myself at a similar experience right here at the Taste of Lumiere. I saw all this food lying around and wondered where it was going. Evan Burkett and I decided to collect as much of it as we could and have it donated to the Salvation Army. Seeing all that food lying there took me back to that night in Ecuador. When you are aware of other people's needs and you choose to serve them, happiness happens. I was fortunate enough to have a grandfather who dedicated his life towards service and serving others. His favorite quote was this: "I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy." Not only do we find happiness when serving others, but we also need to pay attention to the quality of our mind. Some say the key to joy is having control over our mind's thoughts. When we learn to control our thoughts, we can control our mind. When we control our mind, we essentially control our happiness. Once a month, my mom gets a magazine called Tricycle, a Buddhist review. Now, I am not a Buddhist, but every once in a while I will pick it up in the bathroom. I find the ideas interesting and useful in practice. In the latest issue, I found an interesting article on mind control that goes, "If I am in charge of my mind, then I can live comfortably, even in hell. Do not try to find happiness or comfort outside yourself. Instead, you should try to become the commander of your own mind. The richest individuals are those who can lead their minds. Happiness or sorrow, wealth or poverty are all dependent on the mind. Anyone incapable of controlling his or her own mind will experience unfulfilled desires even if he or she possesses everything in the universe." This quote illuminates another point that needs to be touched upon: material possessions. Sam Camp taught us earlier in the year that material possessions do not ensure contentment. It can assist in achieving happiness, but you should not look to external means for happiness. You must look within yourself for that. Abe Lincoln once said, "We're just about as happy as we make up our minds to be." Whenever I got stuck in a bad mood as a child, my parents would pull me aside and say this quote to me. They would tell me that every morning you wake up and you have the choice. You can have an awesome day, or you can mope around and be miserable. It took me years to comprehend this, and still to this day, I have to be mindful that I have this choice. I have the pleasure of bringing this year to a close with senior chapels, and chances are you won't remember most of the speeches given this year. Every senior chapel this year has been great. They have taught us to mostly improve our character, but also a little scholarship and faith. As you may remember, Livia taught us to live rhythmically. Eric Yu taught us to take advantages of opportunities given and how to say lollipop. And Bailey taught us to live through the hardships because each one improves our character. In closing, I challenge you to find happiness in faith, happiness in academics, happiness in those around you, and most importantly, happiness in yourself. Thank you.